All right. Well, good morning, Connecting Waters, and welcome to the Tiger broadcast for October 17th, 2022. My name is Keri Gustafson, and I am an ES and the academic coordinator for Connecting Waters. Today, I have some very, very special guests. I had them on with me last year. I have our student, sixth grade student, Kalea Wyrock, and her mom, Candace Wyrock. Hello, say hi.
Hi, good morning. Thanks for having us.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for waking up nice and early and being here with us. Before we get started with Candace and Kalea, I just wanted to make a few announcements from our Events to Remember calendar. So on October 21st, we have financial aid and scholarship workshops for the class of 2022. That's online at 11 a.m. For more details, you can check out the parent listserv that went out on that. And also coming up on the week of October 24th and 28th, so next week, get ready, we're doing our required writing benchmark assessment. Yay, Kalea, are you so excited? So that has to be done all of next week. So just kind of prepare for that. Know that that's coming up. And then October 28th, we have our Harvest Festival for grades K through 6 from 12 to 2. And I believe that's at the Central Valley Resource Center. And that'll about do it. So the reason I have Kalea and her mom here today is because they're pretty amazing. And they've been homeschooling since Kalea was in second grade, correct? And now she's in sixth grade, and they're kind of the experts of making learning come to life. I don't know if you saw our Tiger broadcast last year, but last year, they did a little presentation about how they visited every mission in her fourth grade year and the summer after. So they were able to visit every single California mission after studying about the California
21
missions.
of them. We went to all 21.
They went to all 21 missions. And so last year in history, she was studying United States history. And the culminating project for that course of study was a trip nonetheless to our nation's capital. So they were just going to share a little bit about that epic field trip and tell us about why doing these things in person really helps Kalea learn. And we know not everybody can make it out to Washington, D.C. at the end of their fifth grade year. But locally, we know we have a lot of opportunities, and just to understand how important that can be to our students' learning. So Kalea and Candace, why don't you tell us a little bit more about your trip and the things that you learned?
So the way that I learn is by doing, and the way that Kalea seems to learn best is by doing. And when the opportunity presented itself for my husband to have to go back to Washington, D.C. for work, I asked if there was a way that we could all go because one, I love Washington, D.C. I went to college in Virginia and got to go to Washington, D.C. a lot. But I feel like in order to truly understand U.S. history, it's so cool to get to see it. And I really wanted Kalea to do that. And, learning about the Constitution or learning about the Civil War, all of these things, that's the place to really get to see it come to life. And so we, did some budgeting so that we could afford all of our plane tickets. And we went out there, and it was, I would say for me, it was a trip of a lifetime. I had more fun on this trip with Kalea than I had any of the previous times I'd been to Washington, D.C. And I think it's because in like 7.5 days, we tried to fit in as much as humanly possible. So she will tell you all the things that we did, and I'll try and show you a couple pictures.
All right. And we were trying to pull up the video, but it wasn't quite working. But Kalea went to the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier and recited the poem, The Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. And we have a great video of it, but we're having a hard time sharing it. So instead, she's going to go through some of her pictures and tell us what she learned by going to all of these amazing places. And we have about 3 minutes for her to do all of that. So okay. A 7-day trip doing all things, do it in 3 minutes.
On day 1, we went to the Lincoln Memorial. and the Washington Monument. On day 2, we went to Stafford Civil War Park and Aquia Church, which is a famous church. And on day 3, we went to the Arlington National Cemetery and
the Iwo Jima Memorial, which was so cool in real life. It's so much bigger than it looks.
And on day 4, we went to the Smithsonian.
It's a hard word. Smithsonian.
National Museum of American History, the White House Museum, the White House, the Ronald Reagan Building, and the Washington Monument.
Yeah, we did a lot that day.
On day 5, we went to the National Archives, which had the Declaration of Independence, the Bill of Rights, and the Constitution, the Capitol Building, the Supreme Court, and the First Battle of Bull Run, and the First Battle of Manassas. On day 6, we went to the Bible Museum and the National Museum of American History. On day 7, we went to the United States Marine Corps Museum, that's my favorite, and the George Washington's Mount Vernon. And on day 8, we went to the United States Marine Corps Museum again, and then we flew home.
Are we exhausted yet hearing about all that?
It was pretty exhausting. But it's so funny that the free museum, like the United States Marine Corps Museum, it's free. It's not actually in DC. It's outside of DC a little bit, was easily everyone in our family's favorite museum. It blew the Smithsonian's out of the water, which I feel like people always want to go to the Smithsonian's because they're so famous. But if you have an opportunity to go to Virginia or Washington, D.C., we highly recommend the National Marine Corps Museum. It's in Triangle, Virginia. It was just, it had so much history, and it was, the exhibits were just amazing. So highly recommend that one.
It was like, they even had like these fake planes that were made out of like, and these people that looked actually real. They were made out of like
giant real life-size models of certain wars and planes, and I think this year they're supposed to be unveiling their Operation Desert Storm area and their Afghanistan area. So.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for sharing, Clay. You did a great job explaining all your pictures. Where's your face? You're over off to the side. Where are you? There you are. Before we go, Candace, do you have any tips or tricks for our homeschooling families out there of how to bring learning to life, maybe even more locally? Just what are your thoughts on that?
So at the end, we did this trip in March of last year, but at the end of the year, there was a local Civil War reenactment, and it's up near Elk Grove. I think it's in Elk Grove, I'm pretty sure. So we went to that, and it was kind of fun because we had just done our trip in March, so some of it was so fresh in her mind, getting to see these other locations where it was actually happening. But then she got to bring it back to our area, Elk Grove. So I say, if you don't have an opportunity to go back to Washington, D.C., definitely hit up a Civil War reenactment in our local area, and there is one in Elk Grove.
Awesome. And I think there's one in Oakdale as well. There used to be.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah. So
heard about that one. That's awesome.
But yeah, take these opportunities I think that's for so many students, that's the best way to learn, is to experience and hands-on. And I know for Kalea, that's really working for her. Huh?
Well, she's going to remember it for the rest of her life. Like, she got to see the Constitution and the Bill of Rights and, the Declaration of Independence with her own 2 eyes. And so it's going to help her remember what's written on those documents.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for joining us this morning. Hopefully you've inspired some other families to get out there and get their hands out there and experience all of these wonderful things we get to learn about. So happy Monday, everybody. And thanks again for joining us. And we'll see you for our Tiger broadcast next Monday at 8:15.